problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Well, I think people must always be concerned about questions of economic justice, and I think that recent events in American society have emphasized that the concerns, if anything, should be getting greater. That the kinds of economic injustice that we... Look, no society is perfect, all right? There's always some element of injustice, and it's a task of human beings, those who believe in a morality and those who believe in religious mandates, to go about seeking to correct and rectify those injustices. But what's happened, I think, in recent years is that we've seen a greater amount of economic injustice arising, where it's no longer a matter of particular individuals who have not been treated justly, but becoming a social problem. For example, just take one that I'm very concerned about, is the threat to the middle class. We see the middle class shrinking, being driven out for the first time in, maybe for the first time in the entire history of the United States. The strength of America, the economic strength of America, has always depended on the vitality of the middle class. But now we seem to be in danger of coming to a point like certain third world countries, where you've got a small group of really rich people and an enormous number of really poor people, and almost nobody in the middle. And we're not there yet, but I'm saying that's the direction we seem to be heading in.
Is this the core idea behind the Occupy Wall Street protests?
Well, I think there's a realization of the inequality at levels we haven't had since the 20s. There's this great period in the middle of this country after the war, when America was the only manufacturer of things, and there was a lot of resources that were shared. We talk about corporate profits, and one of the interesting things is we have, out of that dollar the corporation is making, we have two things that are interesting. The largest percentage is retained by the corporation than we've ever had, and the smallest percentage that's ever gone to workers that work for the corporation. Record low level, and record low level that goes into the common pie as taxes. And so you have a situation where you have increasing inequality, a sense that the jobs that provide a middle class life are shrinking. And what do you do with an increasing? You know, Henry Ford paid a certain wage because somebody had to buy his car.
Right.
And so prosperity is always shared. And when that is kind of lost, what does that do to a society that you can't have the dignity of work, being able to provide for your family? And that is increasingly not only in a reality, but there's that greater fear that it's going away.
Yes. So what does God say about it?
Economic system in Islam, you see, it is linked with each other. with other rules and regulations. Economy is not separate from other rules and regulations in Islam. To take it alone sometimes may not be sufficient or may not be fit, but if you take it as part of a system of the government, Islamic government, and you find it is a just and good rule and regulation. For example, at the beginning, Islamic economy depends on our belief. We believe in Almighty God. We believe in the prophethood of the prophets. We believe in imamate of the imams. We believe in the day of judgment. So the person who believes in day of judgment and believes in Almighty God, he will not be greedy. He will be generous always. He will not collect wealth because there is in the day of judgment, he will be questioned about his wealth. Even if it is from halal way, still he will be questioned. Well, if it is, he collect his money from haram way, naturally, there will be punishment for that. But when it is in halal way, still there is questioning. So that part, the people are not thinking to collect wealth more and more and more. No, they said, well, it is better to give charity. By giving charity, I prevent hazards from myself, from my family. By giving charity, I will build my castles in the paradise to get bigger and better position in paradise and so on, So that is the belief. Or at least charity will prevent any hazard for me, for my family, for my children, prevent diseases for them, accidents for them, and so on. That is the belief, believe if you give charity, the first reward you will get in this world, first reward of your charity, and second reward you will get it in the hereafter. So that is part of the belief, economic system. That is why if the people do not hold money, it's not because they do not like the money, because the money has no value for them. Others, they love to collect more and more money, so I have 1 million and become 10, become 100, become billion, 10 billion, and so on. But for a Muslim, you say, for what, those billions? Let me distribute them and get reward in this world and reward in the hereafter. So it is part of the belief of a Muslim, Also, Islamic economy depends with the concepts of a Muslim about life and the world he lives, In the material life, if you have more money, you are respected by people and you are proud of yourself and look to you that you are someone who is important. So these are the material values, But in Islamic government, those are not the values. The values is how much religious you are. Inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum. The most honorable one among you in the view of Almighty God is the one who is more pious. So piety is the standard, not wealth and collection of wealth.
وآت ذا القربى حقه والمسكين وابن السبيل ولا تبذر تبذيرا إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه كفورا وإما تعرضن عنهم ابتغاء رحمة من ربك ترجوها فقل لهم قولا ميسورا ولا تجعل يدك مغلولة إلى عنقك ولا تبسطها كل البسط فتقعد ملوما محسورا إن ربك يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء ويقدر إنه كان بعباده خبيرا بصيرا.
Finché ognuno cerca di accumulare per sé, non ci sarà mai giustizia.
Pope Francis on Sunday, before reciting the Angelus prayer, underlined the need to trust in the divine providence of God and also stressed as Christians we should help our brothers and sisters who are in need. Looking at society today, where people live in precarious conditions such as poverty and the difficulties faced by many as a result of the economic crisis that offends their dignity, the Pope said that in times like these, the words of Jesus may seem abstract. But in reality, he underlined, these words are more present than ever because they remind us that we cannot serve two masters, God and wealth. As long as everyone tries to accumulate for themselves, Pope Francis added, there will never be justice. The Holy Father went on to say that a heart occupied by his own desire is an empty one, because Jesus has repeatedly warned the rich, a heart possessed by riches leaves little room for faith. The Pope noted that to make sure that no one lacks bread, water, clothing, housing, work and health, we must all recognize that we are children of the Father who is in heaven, and then brothers and sisters, and we should act accordingly as Christians.
Se lascia Dio il posto che gli spetta, cioè il primo, allora il suo amore conduce a condividere anche le ricchezze.
The concept of the divine God, how does that relate to the whole moral principle of economic justice? I mean, how do we define God in ways that inform our willingness to be economically just? Does that make sense? We deal with a concept. I mean, some people say God is abundant, so therefore we have no limits on economic pursuits, or God can be restrictive. So, I mean,
Well,
how do you reconcile that with justice?
Okay, it cuts in both directions. In the first place, that I think that in the Quran, there are advisories regarding economic activity. For example, pursuing economic activity is referred to as seeking the bounty of your Lord.
Okay.
All right? So that, for example, when on Fridays, which is the day of congregational prayer for Muslims, it's not a Sabbath. It does not say don't work on Fridays.
Right.
It says when the time for prayer comes, drop your work.
Yeah.
And go to the prayers, and when the prayer is over, then seek the bounty of your Lord through the land.
Mm-hmm.
So again, so that it's a knowledge that all the wealth ultimately comes from God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other hand, the seeking of spiritual good is referred to in the Quran in the same terms that sound almost like you're talking about economics. For example, the believer makes a contract with God.
Mm-hmm.
The doing of good is an investment on which you will reap a large profit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so on.
Yes. The covenant with God is essentially.
Yeah, even the doing of charity,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is a form of investment.
Yeah.
It is that the one who gives in charity is like the farmer who has planted a seed of corn that gives a birth to a stalk, and on the stalk are 7 ears,
Right,
and each
right.
ear is 100 grains.
Right, investment.
أموالهم ابتغاء مرضات الله وتثبيتا من أنفسهم كمثل جنة بربوة أصابها وابل فآتت أكلها ضعفين فإن لم يصبها وابل فطل والله بما تعملون بصير.
2003, I think it was, an album came out. What was the name of that album? Very famous.
Get Rich or Die Trying?
Huh? Say it again? Say it again?
Get Rich or Die Trying.
Get Rich or Die Trying. By Curtis Jackson, whose name 50 Cents. Now you can't say 50 cents. You got to say 50 cents. No, for real, honestly. If you tell somebody his name is 50 cents, you're not cool. You got to say 50 cents. And then 2 years later, 2005, he came out with a movie, the same name, Get Rich or Die Trying. Actually, there's a more accurate term he could have said. He could have said, get rich or go to prison trying. Because many people, because of this something about wealth, about money, about gold, about possessions, about stuff, about property, it's like you gotta have it. Brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, if you research how many people have killed their husbands, their wives, their children, their parents, just to get money. There's a woman who killed 4 family members just to collect the insurance. Imagine. You killing somebody, you killing your father for insurance. Is it wrong to have a business to make money? Of course not. You can make as much money as you want. But again, what are the 2 questions you have to ask? Number 1, how did you earn it? Number 2, how did you spend it? Now, the reason I say that, you go across this nation from Cisco and other major corporations that have laid off thousands and thousands of workers. You know why they laid them off? Could you blame them if they were losing money and say, you know what, we have to lay you off because we're losing money? Could you blame them? No. But what if I told you that despite making billions of dollars in profit, they lay off these American workers? Why? Greedy. They're greedy. Because for them, everything is the bottom line. We gotta make more money. We ain't making enough money. Money. And you know one of the mistakes that we make? We look at the little people like this guy here. You know what I'm saying? He's a little drug dealer. Not that you're a drug dealer, but you know what I mean, right? Astaghfirullah. But you know what I mean? We look at them, man, look at them them robbers, man. They robbing the people. But you know what? Some of the biggest robbers are nations. They rob countries. They do the same thing that little people do, the drug dealers do. But they do it on a higher scale. Money! Money, 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 money. The love of money, the dunya. This is what people love. They love the money. They love the dunya. Ali radiallahu anhu, he said, Inna yawm al-amal wala hisab wa ghadan hisab wala amal. This is, we are living now in a time of action and no accounting, and then there'll be a day of accounting and no action. Now, you have so many gifts from Allah called the ni'mah. And according to this ayat of the Quran, Allah is going to ask you about the ni'mah that you have. 2 things the Prophet said, ni'matani, 2 things that most people, they miss. And that is free time and health. People don't really believe in the akhirah. They want it now. And what this verse is saying, on that day, everyone will be questioned about what they had. I give an example of a man, you heard about it 2 years ago in Bosnia. He wanted to make Hajj, and he didn't have much money. So you know what he did? He walked from Bosnia to Mecca and performed Hajj. 3,600 miles. I have driven from New York to Atlanta, that's 900 miles. I drove and I was tired after driving 900 miles. He walked 3,600 miles. You think Allah is not pleased with that? That person giving that for Allah? People spending their wealth for Allah? So in the end, brothers and sisters, I just conclude that be grateful for whatever you have. And believe me, you have a lot. Me, I look at myself, subhanAllah, I feel blessed. I'm not rich at all by any stretch of the imagination. Allah always give me exactly what I need. I had to go to the dentist. And I got 2 crowns put on my tooth. I don't know if you know what a crown is. You know how much it cost me? $2,000. No insurance. Allah blessed me to pay for it. Now it wiped me out, but I paid for it. So you need the wealth, but at what cost? That's my question. You will come, some of you will be business people, some of you will have jobs, you will have money. I'm saying to you that whatever you have, you get it. You have a right to grow it, but don't forget your obligation. Allah makes it an obligation. Bunya al-Islamu ala khams. Islam is built on 5. One of them is paying the zakat to give to the poor. And the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, have given us all a way to what to do with the money, with the wealth that we have. Please be careful. When I go visit the prisons, I'm shocked. How many Muslims in prison? People get desperate. They get desperate. They need money. Don't ever get desperate. I don't care how bad things get. You put your faith in Allah the Almighty, and don't you ever get desperate. And just remember that we're going to be held accountable for everything that we do. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you.